Hello, I'm Kovac, and I'm here with Lady Mapi, and today we're playing a game that Lady Mapi's never played before, but I actually have a bit of familiarity with. I played this back when it came out in 2013, and some of you might be familiar with it. It should be coming on screen in just a moment. There we go. So, you were telling me before the video that you have some passing familiarity with this game, which I'll just name. It's Final Fantasy XIII.
Yes, and okay, so dear viewers, you're going to get a much higher res version of this because I got sent the potato quality version of the game, or the game recording.
I have this movie recording in too many FPS, but yes, go ahead.
Yes, so it should look crisp and beautiful for you people, but for me, it's like I'm watching this on YouTube when it came out. It's remarkably thematic.
I was actually thinking that you're getting a very authentic experience, to be honest. I did actually think that.
It is maximum authentic, and maybe we should pay attention to this cutscene. I'm assuming that's our main character.
That is Lightning
looking down at
Farron.
guns at a bunch of cops.
That's correct. That is Lightning Farron, though I am going to be very light on spoilers. I just don't think it's a problem to mention her name. So a lot of this is your classic vague images that, if you know what's going on, is spoiling a good amount of the game, but if you don't, it really means nothing to you.
Those are pretty great. I enjoy that kind of cutscene. Are we going to get to fly on a dragon at some point?
Maybe. I mean, pretty late into the game, to be honest.
I mean, it just showed the cast riding on a dragon, and I'm going to fixate on that over everything else that's being shown in this opening cutscene.
Now,
other than that lady's hat, that is one remarkably excessive hat.
It is that the Eidolons have a bit of a... well, we'll get to the Eidolons around Chapter 3, but I just want to give a little context to this game, because this is sort of the black sheep of the Final Fantasy franchise in a lot of people's minds. Or maybe Final Fantasy XIV, the original, before Realm Reborn, I don't know. Both of those came about at the same time, and it was a very dark period for this franchise. So, this game did not release to great reviews or great reception, and a lot of that was blamed on its linearity as a really big reason people disliked this game. Now, personally speaking, this is actually a game I enjoyed when it came out, and I had been playing quite a few Final Fantasies around this time, such as 10, 12, and 13. And I actually don't think it's that bad of a game. I'm not saying the complaints aren't somewhat warranted, but I'm hoping that people will see that this game isn't so bad. Now, we'll be playing... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, I think there are plenty of games where, when they came out, people were like, this is trash, garbage. And then if you come back to them a few years later, you're like, this is pretty fine.
Yes, though this version might be a little bit scuffed, if only because I don't have a captured cable. I played this originally on the PS3, so I will be playing the PC port. Now, the original 13's PC support is the most stable. If we ever do the sequels, I heard we need mods because 13.2 is notoriously unstable on PC. I will also say that I'm uploading a no commentary version of this because there's a lot of cutscenes to the degree that we can't really do a no talking over the cutscene thing that sometimes happens in Let's Plays, because if we did, we wouldn't be talking for half the video half the time. So, if you want to...
Is that still a thing?
On something awful it is. I am going to be posting this there.
Everywhere.
It's just...
Because most of the Let's Plays I've seen, more recent, like, quote-unquote Let's Plays, have been those, like, oh, we streamed and here's a compilation, whatever. Anyway, you're probably going to talk about the game and not whatever I'm rambling about.
Well, I would just say that I still prefer that older style a little bit, because with the streamer style, you're there more for the personality, and I don't think we have that. With this style, you're here more for the game, and I do enjoy that. But yes, this is the introduction. So I am going to intentionally, and I think I said this either before or in the shortly failed recording before this, I'm not going to be... Lady Mappy knows very little of the plot. A friend apparently once explained the plot to them, but they don't really remember.
In excruciating detail, back in 2011.
Right, but as you said, you don't really remember much outside such a vague description that you basically described like 5 Final Fantasy games, as I said. And I'm going to intentionally not speak a lot of spoilers. And my reasoning for that is one of the complaints this game received heavily was that its plot was difficult to follow and relied heavily on data logs. And I am just going to... Well, we will actually look at the data logs throughout the video, because I think it might be a fun little thing to do, and I've already recorded this, so it's going to happen.
I have no choice.
There's something in my throat. I might cut that out. I want to see how much of the plot you sort of uncover naturally as the game goes on. To see what your view of it is. Now, we've been talking over this, but this is clearly a very in medias res event, as the Greeks would say.
We have Lightning and Afro Guy. I don't think we have a name for him yet.
You'll get a name for him.
Doing a rescue mission on some... what appears to be a religious minority who has been arrested by the, fascist police.
You got half of that right. The game will go into a little bit more. You got about half of that right, actually. There's definitely going to be quite a bit of, especially when you see the main villain of the game. There'll be a lot of organized religion being the bad guy thing, but that's a pretty common thing in JRPGs.
Yep, the classic JRPG plot is that you start off attacking slimes and then end up murdering God.
Well, I won't say anything there.
I mean, hey, if this game does that, then it's just, within the realm of normality.
I'll say we don't start by fighting slimes. As a matter of fact, we're about to enter the first combat. And that actually gives me a second to talk about some of the criticisms that was levied against the combat system. But unfortunately, we really won't be able to see the good side to the combat system within this video. I'll wait a moment for the battle to actually start for us to begin discussing things.
Well, that might be the reason why everyone's like, oh hey, combat sucks, is that you have to wait for a couple hours before it gets good. A lot of people play for 20 minutes or so, go, oh, I don't really like this, and then they stop.
I mean, that is fair, and that was a complaint levied against this game quite a bit. Now, this game uses a version of the active time battle system where the focus is not so much on the moment-to-moment gameplay as it is the overarching strategy. Now, this was a direction Square Enix had actually been taking their games quite a bit around this time. I think Final Fantasy XII is a very big example of that, as Final Fantasy XII almost played like an MMO, especially with the Gambit system, and I enjoyed 12. And this combat system is similar in, I would say, design ethos. If I'm using that word right. I don't know if I am. You speak Latin.
Yeah, that does sound about right. I will say, behind the text box, which we have Lightning and Saj. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his name?
I think it's pronounced Saz. Now that you said that, the proper pronunciation left my brain. But I think it's Saz. Yeah. I don't think you pronounce it.
So I won't actually be able to hear it from the video because while recording this thing, I hear Kovac and I hear Kovac. That's how I have it set up. I'm just watching the pretty pictures go by.
Well,
I will say,
you
this is a pretty sweet mech design.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you there. You were saying it was a sleek mech design, but you're saying you can't hear the game audio at the moment?
Yeah, that's actually intentional on my part because I would get, screwed up if I had to listen to, 3 different things simultaneously.
Oh, okay. Alright, I thought there was a technical issue. Alright, so we'll continue recording then. Okay, so...
Nope.
Now, well, that I will say you're missing out a little bit because one thing I really do enjoy about this game, and this is true of many Final Fantasies, is the music is really good. I'm very fond of the battle track from this game, actually. Which I believe is called Blinded by Light. But you could listen to that in between videos to get a feel for it.
Yes. My brain, when you said Blinded by Light, I'm just, starts playing like
Manfred Band.
Rush.
Because you're thinking of the rock song "Blinded by the Light." Is that what you're thinking
Yes.
of? Yeah, that's Manfred Band.
Did I say the wrong band? I might have said the wrong band.
No. I don't think you said any band's name.
Oh no, I said Rush.
Oh, you said Rush? No, that's no. I'm fairly certain that's Manfred Band. But now the thing I want to discuss a little bit about the combat system. I think this is where, because I haven't gone into detail, but you can literally see me doing this right now. So when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay, it's not as important because later on we'll hit us. Oh, this is me showing off the Libra screen. So this is what you see if you use Libra on a character. Though I don't actually have that ability unlocked yet, so most of that screen is blank. But back to what I was saying. You see there's a button called Auto Battle. Now, what Auto Battle is that it will automatically determine the best move set for the characters in that given moment. Okay, that's me hitting the wrong button on the controller that time, I'll admit. I'm actually using a PS4 controller for this, but the button layout is not what you would expect. For some reason, square is correct, it is go forward, X is back, circle... You get the idea.
Well, square going forward and X going back, I think is...
No, that usually it's circle and X on
right.
Japanese.
Oh yeah, it's true. It is circle. It is circle to go forward, X to go back in a lot of Japanese games.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's square. I think that might actually be a problem with me forcing the game to accept a PS4 controller.
It might be. I wouldn't put it past Sony to have swapped the button layout and not told anyone.
I think you mean Square Enix.
No, I'm saying Sony because clearly a PS3 controller and a PS4 controller are laid out differently.
I mean, they might be on the back end. I didn't even consider that. It might actually just be how they're laid out in the software is causing the confusion. If I didn't think of using my PS3 controller. I might try that later. That's an interesting thought. But yes, a lot of people complain about the auto battle system because they felt that the game was playing itself. But as we'll see later on, it's because the game's strategy has more to do with a different subsystem that's introduced in Chapter 3 than what most Final Fantasies have. So once we get to Chapter 3, and yes, unlike most Final Fantasies, this game is actually broken up into levels, like a traditional level-based game. You'll see the full combat system, and see where there is more strategy and more fun involved in it. That isn't to say there isn't strategy in this version of it. If you only ever use auto battle, you'll actually probably have some trouble with the game. So you'll see me do certain tricks throughout to optimize my moves.
Sure we can get through here.
I will say though, gasp! A Final Fantasy game with levels. It's like has a linear story. What next? Are they just gonna read us the story like a storybook? I don't get like criticisms of like, oh, it's very linear, because you know, a lot of times, like linearity is a positive.
I apologize. I thought I cut that part out, but I wanted to show off just this little thing that happens when you load back in the game. It will always show off a little explanation of the events.
Why are you going to cut that part out?
No, the game froze for a second because that was me closing it, and I thought I cut that part out of it.
Okay. I thought you were going to cut out my comment, and I was like, wait, why?
No.
Do we have censorship in the Final Fantasy XIII Let's Play?
Well, I think the complaint with linearity, because you were bringing that up, I think a lot of it stems, because at this point in time, we have to put our mindset back into the heads of 2013. And around 2013, open world equals good was a very common belief system. You know, we hadn't yet been broken by endless Ubisoft titles. What's happening here, by the way, is in Final Fantasy 13-2, you hit enemies to get an advantage on them, and I forgot that's not how it is in 13. So I keep trying to find the button to hit the enemies to get the preemptive strike.
So they ripped off like AAA title Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga in that regard.
I think Superstar Saga had an open world actually, but
no, well, Superstar Saga had a bit of like it didn't have like a modern style open world, but it had the kind of thing where you could just like wander around the entire game map.
Yeah,
you know, the old meaning of open world. But it also had the thing where if you like hopped on enemies or shot them with also I just need to comment, look at Saj's like shit eating grin.
You know, ironically he's a cynic. Oh, and this is me showing that all those little chapter descriptions can also be seen in the data log, and we will actually be showing those off periodically throughout the video. I will accidentally screw up a few times because the game never tells you when a new one is available, so it does tell you when new stuff in the data log is available, but sometimes that stuff is tutorials, so you know. I try to periodically catch up so that people can see the data log as we go through.
All right. So, and also, just because you're like, hey, the plot's really... You want to see if I can follow the plot. Okay, so far, we just saw, like, a prison break on a train.
Correct.
And we got a comment from Saj going like, hey, you're a soldier, right? Why are you against, like, the purge of this minority, like, religious group or whatever? I'm mainly going like, they look like a religious group because the robes, by the way.
Oh, I picked that up. I picked that up.
And her comment is like, no, I used to be a soldier, but now I'm not anymore because I grew a set of morals. So I think they are trying to do the whole like, there's something going on here. We are kind of flooding you with proper nouns right now, but if you hold on, these proper nouns will be explained.
Yes. That is what you are on point there. I think, you know, now that you say it that way, I wonder if that's where some of the criticisms and comparisons... Because there was a very common comparison between Lightning and Cloud, which is extra funny because in one of the games you can actually unlock Cloud's outfit for Lightning. Not in this one, though. And I wonder if the...
Lightning comes from Cloud's, Kovac.
That is a statement people have pointed out. I will definitely not take that from you. It's that you're not wrong.
It is the lowest hanging fruit, honestly.
There was also people trying to point out they had similar facial structure. I still don't know if that really works with an animated character, though.
Yeah, I think that's just art style.
Yeah.
Better to die than get sent.
All right, okay. So we're being sent. Being sent to the work camps with bad conditions.
Sort of. You're getting there.
Nothing to worry about.
I do. No, one thing I will mention, by the way, is the localization on this is a little scuffed as well. I don't think there's any big examples here, but the localization of this game was a bit of a nightmare. The localization team was intentionally kept in the dark on the script. The script was rewritten 5 times, requiring the actors to re-record their lines, I believe 5 times. And actually, this has led to some earlier drafts of the script making it through into the American release in certain lines because of just all the confusion. And
so, why would you not let the localization team see the script?
Because they wanted to keep it a secret. It seems like they would need to see
the script to do their job.
Well, they got to see the script, but they didn't get the wider context. Well, I'm sorry I keep talking over... Oh, God dang it. I'm sorry I keep talking over you. It's always the issue with online calls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't read your body language. Oh, sorry, again.
It's fine, we don't have like a... Oh, it's time for me to talk signal. It's not like we're like handing around a stick or something. But it's kind of like, you know, in B movies? Or like really, really low budget, like... animated stuff where it's obvious they just kind of got the actors in to say their lines but didn't like give them any sort of information. So they have like incredibly like wooden delivery of like emotionally important scenes.
That is actually
that's why you don't do that.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. That is actually a complaint made against Lightning's American voice actor, is that some of her deliveries are very emotionless in very emotive scenes. People point out the Japanese actress is more emotive. I don't believe this is an issue with the actress. I think it just all comes down to the scuff localization, where lacking the wider context, she didn't always know what the right emotion was for the scene and defaulted to stoic.
Yeah, And I mean, I think that's that's actually a relatively common issue. I found where you have because you can usually tell because it'll be the kind of thing where they're like the actual quality of their voice acting when they do emote is good, but they're just emoting at the wrong times.
That is actually what this is me, by the way, going Saz, how did you were right behind me.
That is because he is a wizard.
Yes.
This I don't actually know if he is a wizard in game.
Well, well, spoilers for Chapter 3, but his first unlock is actually the magic job. So.
So Saj is in fact a wizard. Good.
Cold-blooded murder.
Okay, so this is so I love. Okay, so I'm just giggling because you look in the bottom left corner and Saj is like his like profile picture is his shit-eating grin. It just as he goes like murder, cold-blooded murder.
One thing that is, I think, a little weird about that I heard about Saz is that apparently he's based off of, and I might be wrong about this, and I'm a little afraid to be wrong about this, but I've read somewhere where someone said that they based him off of Eddie Murphy from some of his 80s flicks, which I can definitely see in some of his emoting. But I just find that it's like such a weird pull. I guess the people who make games are older than the people who play games, so that probably plays a factor in it. But
yeah. I mean, it's also the kind of thing where like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how my character behaves. Might as well watch like
So much for the element of surprise.
like some old movies or whatever. It's kind of like how like the pretty famous one where the school in Silent Hill is based off of the one from Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So like if you look at, it's pretty obvious that they just watch. Well, because from how I've had it explained to me is that Schwarzenegger was really popular in Japan at the time, and because they were specifically aiming for, we're making an American town, and none of them had been to the U.S. They were like, okay, what are some like American movies that show a school? Oh, Kindergarten Cop. So like, as you're walking through the school, certain like graphics on the wall can be matched to shots from the movie. Like you can actually line up your character to replicate shots from the movie pretty well.
By the way, I want to say this is some pretty good transition between gameplay and cutscene right here. When this first happened, I actually did not expect it. I was about to go get the item on the top.
Yeah.
Do we turn back?
There's no time.
I didn't even notice because I was rambling about something else, but yeah, no, as the fact that I didn't even notice. I remember the days when it would be like, oh hey, Saj is like, no lady, no, please.
Well, this is actually, I think, a good character moment a little bit, because Lightning was 100% willing to abandon him if he didn't accidentally burn out her device trying to stop her from leaving.
Yep. Lightning's like, you know what, I don't have time for you, you random simp.
Yeah, because he was just to give a little bit away, he was just someone else who was on the train at the time.
Yeah.
Who happened to have a weapon on him because he was expecting combat.
I did pick that up mostly because, like, he's referring to her as, like, soldier girl and obviously hasn't met her before. So it seems this was a case of, like, he got captured for this purge thing, but he was ready to fight his way out, and she's just like, hi, I came in here to prison break.
Sort of. You're like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I am surprised how much context you are. I'm not surprised how much context you're getting, but considering how much people complain that there is no context to anything, it seems that you're getting a pretty good idea for everything.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I'm also the kind of person where, like, I a lot of media that's, like, supposedly, like, really hard to follow just does seem kind of straightforward to me, because it's really just a matter of paying attention.
I mean, to be blunt, this is how I also felt when I heard all those complaints. I played this game after a lot of the complaints came out, but I had already purchased it. And this was actually similar to my exposure to Sonic 06, where I already bought the game, and and also Alien Colonial Marines, where I had bought the game, and between buying the game and going to play it, I heard some of the complaints, but I already dropped the money, so I thought I'd play it anyway. But unlike those other two examples, I actually wasn't disappointed with this one.
I was about to say, like, is this... I hope this is at least better than Alien Colonial Marines.
Oh, definitely.
That was an interesting decision.
Yes. Well, I was just bringing it up to give examples of games I had purchased, and in between purchasing and release, and actually opening the box, had decided to check the internet. Because, you know, day one reviews are usually, like, restricted nowadays, so... And that actually started around that time.
So I wonder how connected day one reviews being restricted and, you know, the fact that a lot of AAA games are now being released as buggy messes. I wonder if those are connected things.
Now, how quickly can you read this, by the way? Because I know you're a speed reader.
The land below is set to crawl with unknown perils, and terrified civilians begin to revel in the purge. Okay, so... Basically, like, okay, if you are dissidents, you get sent down to Pulse, which is a horrible place. They manage to stop at the Hanging Edge, which is a war zone, and they're fighting their way out, and it's a rough time. All of that is armor.
You got that. Yeah, I was going to say, I was literally about to say, I really like the aesthetic of this game, too, by the way. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like... You know, this is before Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, so this was like, and Final Fantasy XII kind of went for more of a straight fantasy, and Final Fantasy X, even though it did have some techno-magic elements, due to the plot of that game, a lot of the technology was far away. So this is the first time Square had done like a high-budget techno fantasy since, I think, 8.
I'm just really impressed by that, like, fluted Victorian collar. Not Victorian, but, like, you get what I'm saying, where it's just, like, that big collar.
Yo, no, I know what you mean. Sorry, I just taking a second to make sure I was still recording. By the way, when I record these videos, I have the most clenched asshole. Like, the whole time, I'm afraid I'm going to drop frames, because these recordings... are like hours long, and like so the whole time my ass is just clenched that I'm gonna drop the frame and lose the entire video. That's why you're gonna see I never overwrite a save, so if something does go wrong I can go back. So I'm just
welcome to Let's Playing. I mean, granted, because I don't like advertise my stuff and I just do it so I have an excuse to play games, I will occasionally just go, okay, I forgot to record the audio this time around. I'm just going to edit in some audio and call it a life.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's so stressful because, like, you know, the thing is, I do enjoy playing this game. I actually did have fun playing this for the video, but if I had to redo an hour of gameplay, I would definitely not have as much fun on the redo.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like, this is why... Like you know, a lot of older Let's Plays are kind of... They are anally, like, about, you know, oh, we rotate our saves, and, like, oh, we need to check that our recording is going properly, because they're not, like, heavily editing it after recording, like, 7 billion things. Also, she's apparently chasing after, like, either a fairy tale or, like, the local equivalent of, like, Area 51 or government conspiracy or whatever from just from Saja's face. Like,
well, you're a little cold on that one, but they will explain what a fal'Cie is soon.
Yeah. Like I get the sense that it's something where it's like, oh, you're looking for that crap.
We're now moving to one of the other main characters, where they do a lot in this game, and this is not just in the intro. because they use a level-based gameplay structure, they are able to do a lot of congruent storytelling. So there's a lot of moments where the game will stop on one character and go to another. The way it works is that all of the XP is actually stored and everything you earn in one gameplay section is immediately given to the other characters, so that you can immediately level them up. That's how they handle that.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the whole, like, oh hey, the propaganda is like, ah yes, you are all leaving of your own free will.
Yeah, I love that.
These people need heroes.
Also, we've got Huge here. I'm very sad that he is not Buffer.
So you prefer Twunks to Twinks?
Well, no, because his name is Huge.
Oh,
he should be Huge.
I see.
What's our motto?
So you...
The army's no match for Nora.
By the way, you're not going to know who this is, but when I look at Yuge, all I can think of is Aster from, I think it's Niji Sanji. He got a similar hairstyle. I know you don't like VTubers, so you have no idea who that is. You also don't need to worry too much about the Resistance, because like outside of Snow, they're barely in the game.
So we don't get a lot of like huge information.
No, we don't get a lot of Yuge. You know, the funny thing is
there huge part of the game.
There's actually a super big buff guy, and his name is not Yuge. I don't remember his name, though. Like I said, the members of the Resistance are really background characters, because this game is very heavily focused on the main cast, and everyone else is really a side character. There's very few, like, supporting characters. I've heard people point out how one of the main human villains gets more characterization in a DLC in the sequel than they do in this entire game. I don't think that's a problem, though, because I actually do think the personalities of the main cast are strong enough to hold the entire story, and that was clearly the intent of the writer.
Legitimate question. Couldn't you make this critique of, like, most Final Fantasies?
I guess you could.
Like, they tend to be very focused on the main cast. Like, okay, so I'm... The most recent Final Fantasy game that I've played a significant amount, like, chronologically, is 6. I did play a little bit of 7 in Spanish, and I played a little bit of 10 in an airport. But, like, I mostly have played, like, the early Final Fantasy games, and the only things I can remember about those games are, like, the main characters and the gimmicks. Like... Okay, no, with Final Fantasy VI, I do remember Kefka, because Kefka was, stole the show.
He's also the main villain of 6, so he should be someone you remember. I would count the villains as usually main characters, but I would say in this game, the human villains don't really add much to the plot, because I would say... Excuse me. That Final Fantasy XIII is really more a story about people fighting against society, more so, and that any... humans who show up just represent an element of society that they're rebelling against.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I figured from what we got so far.
Yes. Which, I mean, that is one of the classic storytelling, things, man versus society. And I do think this is what the story lends into. Though it can sometimes... I wonder if that is part of the issue, because man versus society usually deals with the issue that you don't have a face to it. A bit of a gameplay thing here. So, Snow is your monk character, if you're going to use the Final Fantasy job system's traditional names. He fights with his fists, he's very tough. His best... I don't want to spoil because we don't get the job system till Chapter 3, but essentially, his best type is to be the big meat shield that takes all the hits for other people. Another funny thing is that, from a gameplay standpoint, the other Resistance fighters probably could save the entire world, because for some reason, in this segment, they're immortal. You'll actually see there are points in this game where they take so much damage they should die, and they don't, because they just have, question mark, HP. So really, they're immortal, and they could probably solo this entire adventure, but unfortunately, we don't get to keep them.
Honestly, that would be a fun, mod or DLC. What if your party was just the invincible characters during the early segments, and you just wrecked shop. They don't do a lot of damage because they don't level up, but... They literally have all the time in the world.
I legitimately don't know why they were made immortal for this segment, by the way. It doesn't make any sense, because of how the game works, it's completely okay for the side characters to die. This is a game, though, where if the main character dies, you do lose. It's like Persona 3. Because you can never take control of the other party members, you immediately lose. That is something that is objectively better in the sequel, in my opinion. Where if the main character dies in 13.2, it immediately... control will immediately shift to the other player characters until your party runs out.
That is definitely an interesting design decision. I mean, though, okay, I will say, I do appreciate Snow just, hi, this is a world where people have guns. The only guns I need are the,
Guns on
my
my shoulders.
Yeah. He's giving everyone tickets to the gun show.
Yeah, it's funny too because it's that classic Final Fantasy thing where we will see a few times where guns are shot at the main characters constantly, but when it's in a cutscene and someone pulls a gun on someone, they treat it like it's a serious thing.
Well, that's because they're currently in combat space and not cutscene space. It's a completely different situation.
It's like how Dragon Age 2, everyone can be killed by the cutscene knife. They can take like 1,000 hits from an ogre, but that one knife that only shows up in cutscenes will insta-kill them.
I mean, that's clearly because they're just borrowing the knife from a Tonberry.
Oh, I don't know if there's a Tonberry in this. There probably is, and I'm just forgetting. You know, it probably is in Chapter 11. I won't spoil what Chapter 11 is, but I could definitely bet there's Tonberries hidden in there that I've never seen. Because I've never fully explored Chapter 11.
You all okay?
As we all know, Chapter 11 is literally just the sequence where it's all Tonberry all the time.
Well, you do get to fight a lot of high-level monsters there.
Don't worry. No one's moving.
Don't worry, no one's being forcibly relocated.
You a path out of here, so be ready to...
And they're like, yeah, let's join the resistance.
I think I'm going to say this. I'm going to try to be careful on spoilers, but I think a lot of people misunderstand Snow's character, because a lot of people claim they hate Snow's character because he's like this, overly idealistic idiot, but like, if someone's going to say it in this scene, so I don't think it's a problem to say this, but the game makes it clear, literally in this scene, if I remember correctly, that that's kind of the point. And we'll see later on, like, how that turns out within this chapter. Because that's the point of his character, is that he's an idiot. And not in the, oh, this is an idiot's tale, as in, that's a flaw he has to overcome as a character.
Yes. I mean, also, overly idealistic idiot is kind of the bill for who you want, like, as the figurehead for your rebellion.
Yeah.
That's true. It's kind of those are the type of people who would probably garner a following.
Yeah, like he seems like super personable.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, who wants the gun?
Yeah, the
Small
idea is these are
child.
the people's. So he just recruited people to come with him, and this is him giving a gun to the people left over to protect themselves because they're gonna be on their own.
Push comes to shove. Keep them safe.
First impression.
First impression of Snow, all talk, no brains.
I'm also going to
yeah.
say that character there was another player character, and I also think her character gets misunderstood a lot. I think you've kind of already seen why she gets misunderstood, but I'm just going to say the difference between how she just acted physically and how she thinks in her head. I don't think people pick up on that's the point of the character.
Sounds like there's a lot of, like, people have not actually paid attention to what the characters are doing.
I mean, a lot
what
of
the game is doing with
fans
the characters.
did. I'd say a lot of fans did. I'm sort of talking about, like, the general on-the-street complaints that were out around the time. We haven't talked a lot about that character yet, so I won't go into detail, but I think people miss, like, you've already seen there's that difference between how she was acting childish, but in her head she seems to be actually very perceptive. And not getting, like, that's the point.
Yeah. Okay, I do like how Snow's, like... his picture is just him being like having the time of his life. Like, yeah.
Yeah, about to punch some Nazis in the face.
He is living in his best possible life.
So, we skipped over that pretty quick, but on this thing it mentioned that Pulse is another world that people are sort of afraid of. And this purge is being done by Sanctum to remove people suspected to be related to Pulse.
Yeah.
For reasons I will get into in a moment.
So it looks like they're... Okay, the Falsi... Or a Falsi. Wow, you really do click through these quickly. I can read quickly, but not that quickly.
I should have held it longer.
Yeah.
I'll explain what that said in a second.
So basically they get attacked by, like, monsters from this Pulse place, but there's, like, something useful out in Pulse. So there's like, okay, we need to go get something from Pulse, but no one actually wants to go there, because everyone's like, holy shit, this Pulse place is hell. So they basically focus on, like, okay, a bunch of, like, criminals or other undesirable get, like, deported, and now the army is like, okay, you know what, screw sending you to hell to, like, and deporting you, we're just gonna kill you now.
You're kind of close. You're kind of close. I'll actually fill in some details. So, it mentioned that a Pulse Falsi was discovered in Bodham, and they're going to mention that later in the story, and that means everyone's considered tainted, and they're being sent down to Pulse.
Oh, okay, so it's not just like, oh, hey, you wear the wrong fashions or whatever. It's like, okay, we consider stuff from Pulse to be, like, infectious, so we are deporting you because we're like, you are icky and you have the Pulse illness.
Well, I don't know if we get into this video, but there is an explanation for why they view it that way, and it's the fact that it's specifically a Falsi. I don't know if we get into what Falsi can do in this video, though, because this is Chapter 1. I don't think we mention it yet. But because the Pulse Falsi was found in Bodham, everyone in Bodham was being sent down to Pulse. But you are right in that they do mention it later, so this isn't too much of a spoiler. That, yes, at some point it turned out the pretense of relocating people was actually just a cover for an extermination.
I mean, like, it's not a spoiler because it was mentioned in the text log that was flashed on the screen briefly. I didn't read that one.
I see. Oh, okay.
My brain, because I don't know what Falsi are, but I didn't see a mention that Falsi are the ones who built Cocoon in the first place. And I'm going to presume that they fill a similar role to Espers.
Similar, definitely similar.
Where they're like the spirit, like, magical type. Like, not in the sense that, like, you jam a Falsi into your brain and now you have new spells.
Let's shake things up a little.
Definitely not that. But you are getting close a little bit in their relation. They're definitely a source of power for this city. Oh, and here comes a little bit... This is, I think, another source of complaints, is that in this segment, before we unlock the job system, or even magic, they give us, like, 6 boss fights. These mini boss fights. And, like, without the other systems, a lot of them are just attacking enemies. And I think that was a sort of a poor design decision.
Yeah, it sounds like the game started a bit too slow for people.
Yeah, it definitely did not put its best foot forward. But I do not agree with people who say the game doesn't get good till Chapter 11. That's a load. I say the game gets good around Chapter 3. And I wouldn't even say these opening segments were bad. I actually didn't mind them. It just feels like... It feels very empty until you get to Chapter 3 and the game goes, okay, here's the rest of the combat system.
So, can you tell me what the... the percentages in the top right corner are?
Yes, I think that's fine to bring up. So there is a mechanic that if you've played Final Fantasy VII Remake, you're probably familiar with, called Stagger, and this is the first time it was brought up. So if you can, every enemy has a weakness. Usually sometimes it's elemental. It's usually magically based, and if you exploit it enough, you can stagger them. The benefit of hitting people, though, because there is a tempo to this, is physical attacks makes the stagger gauge slow down on how slow it goes down. Whereas magic attacks are fast, but if you only use magic, it immediately drains out, usually too quick for you to get another hit in. So you have to mix magic and physical damage. And if it goes over the threshold for that monster, you start to deal increased damage based on how big the number is. It starts at 200%, but the more damage you do, the higher the percentage gets. So if you really hammer on that creature, you can go up to like 1,000 times damage on all your hits. Now you see here, he was trying to be a big hero, screwed it up.
And now, like, all the people he recruited are gonna die.
Basically, well, you'll see.
Or no, because we got a rescue from the mom with her rocket launcher.
I told you, didn't I? Moms are tough.
But yeah, no, like, stick to no guns, Snow. Clearly the guns on your shoulder. Oh, no. There we go. It was false hope.
Yeah. Like, it looked like a big hero moment, but the rocket barely damaged the ship at all.
Yeah. And now Snow's like, ah, fuck. I got these people killed. Shit.
Yeah, as I said, this is all part of his character. He's literally watching as all the people he brought out of those trains are all... These are the people, you know, these are all the people he brought into battle and the people he rescued all falling to their death.
So basically, he done fucked up.
Yeah.
He done fucked up a lot. Also, she's ragdolling pretty hard.
Yeah, I always... I've had to see this scene a few times in editing, and I gotta say, she does have a very strange movement.
Oh, well, I was thinking, like... in terms of, like, is she dead already?
She might be, judging by the fact she just... You know, that's interesting. I've never heard that interpretation of the scene, but it would explain why she suddenly passes out after asking Snow to save her son. She might have literally already been dead.
Because I'm also getting the sense, because, like, living people don't really ragdoll like that. Like, okay, no, I'm not just going off how video games have ragdolling as like, oh, we ended up just turning off the skeleton. It's fine. But in the sense that, like, when you are alive, your body, like, automatically, you know, make sure that your limbs don't go, like, places where they would break. Whereas she like flopped, like she didn't have any sort of like muscular control at that point. So,
yeah, she was on the brink of death. I never heard that interpretation. I think you're right. I think she was on the brink of death. But Snow is still gonna. Well, I guess I can say this. Snow's still gonna blame himself for all of this.
Snow is, you know, guilty as fuck. But I will say, it's not entirely his fault, because everyone was like, yeah, we want to fight too.
That's true.
So really his fault is just the fact that he's so, like, inspiring.
Sanctum logic.
Yeah, there is that. And, you know, you could argue they were all dead anyway, because this was... Yeah, she's literally bringing up, why carry the danger all the way to the pulse? Stamp it out here. This was all just an extermination masquerading as a...
Execution masquerading.
That's literally, she says that. I forgot she does.
Yeah. So it makes sense that, basically, they... Well, I guess you could just say that the difference is that, oh, hey, you went from, you are definitely going to die, to, hey, at least you get to shoot at the people who were trying to kill you.
The thing is, though, I think in Snow's head, he thinks he could have saved them all because he views himself as a hero. Yeah. So this is a huge failure.
Okay, so Pulse Falsey and the Lassie. So I'm assuming that Lassie are like the followers.
Sort of.
I'm guessing that those were like the people in the big old robes with the glowy tassels.
I'll say no, they are not that. It's actually much worse than that. and it'll actually give away why they view Pulse as why they viewed everyone as tainted. But it's not. You are right in that they are followers.
Okay, so they're not like human followers. I'm guessing they're like, I don't know. Like zombie sounds reductive.
You're actually getting close, but also very far. But I think you're starting to get to the cusp of it.
Oh no! When I'm saying zombie, I'm visualizing something more like whatever the enemies were called in Parasite Eve, where it's like, oh yeah, your mitochondria just mutate you into a monster and you start killing people.
Oh, we're actually about to stagger someone, by the way, so you'll actually see the stagger happen now.
Sweet.
So now you see that percent. The more that goes over 200%, the more damage more my damage is increased. So right now we are doing 215% damage.
Oh, I was about to say, like, so why is it in, like, why is it counting up to 200 and not 100? But I figure if, like, oh hey, I'm dealing like 200, you're dealing like 215% damage when it's 215. That makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just start off. I think it goes up to 100, but when you hit 100, it immediately goes to 200%.
Well,
no, you're right. It goes up. To. No, you're right. It goes up to 200%. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Attention, purge deportees. Surrender so we can just continue purging you. Please and thank you. Also, that is an impressive way to come down and do your announcements.
Well, that's actually... Well, they'll say what that is in a second. It is funny Snow survived that fall, but no one else did. But he is, I guess, very physically strong.
Snow is basically just... I mean, he does have main character energy.
That's what you were looking for.
He does.
Yeah. Right in there.
Okay. The Pulse Fal'Cie. Oh, is the machine the Fal'Cie?
It's actually inside of there. This is the thing that was housing it.
Ah.
So it's not the whole thing. Fal'Cie vary in size. We see some of them are as small as like a small like car, and some are as big as buildings.
Okay, so this is like disease, nuclear power, death, or whatever.
Kind of. We're getting closer and closer. I think I'm actually leading you astray by asking for constant updates, so I think I'll leave you be for a bit.
Yeah. Also, I'm kind of amused at how out of place her outfit looks.
Yeah, that's funny, isn't it?
Like, I know, I mean, given from the cutscene, she does seem to be not from around here, but,
Hey, wait!
Bye! But yeah, no, I mean, part of me is I don't know how much to chalk it up to, like, just Final Fantasy main characters tend to have really distinctive designs. Yeah, I'm assuming this is her internal monologue of like, oh hey, I act happy all the time because I grew up around people who expected me to like, well, didn't expect me to be happy, but like, liked it when I was happy, so I'm just gonna be happy to make other people happy.
Just be like dead emotionally for that sake.
I'm only smiling on the outside. And the fact that people didn't pick that up when it's basically spelled out like right here, if that's what they're doing, is impressive.
Yeah, people complain that she's a manic pixie dream girl kind of character, and it's like, no, that's just how she pretends to act. By the way, Saz can survive this fall because she has magic. She's using Magitech, but like I would not have the faith to make that jump personally.
Look. As you said, he is a simp, and he is also a wizard. So,
now then, this is the guy who should have been named Huge. By the way, dude is built like a brick house.
Yeah.
Wait, am I using that right? Yeah, whatever.
Yes. Well, it's usually a brick shithouse, actually.
It looks like... It looks like the fall wasn't necessarily lethal. It looks like what killed everyone was the rubble. So The fact he fell last is probably why he survived.
They didn't die. They couldn't have died. Yes. More people who are confused about how death works. I mean, okay, we can't... This guy can't be huge because, like...
What's wrong with you?
He's actually experiencing, like, physical discomfort from having fallen. Unlike Snow, who's like, well, time to stand up.
Well, I think. By the way, I think what they're going for is that I'm sure you got this. It's disillusionment. All of them are like, wait a minute. I thought we were like, they're basically going through. I thought we were unkillable. We're all dying now. Shit. I didn't think about this being a possibility.
Oh hey, no. My favorite part though is mechanically. I'm guessing that if you played through them now, they wouldn't have infinite health.
That would be actually fun.
She's waiting there, ain't she? Your lovely bride to be.
Oh, your lovely bride to be.
About time you picked her up.
Are you going to marry the power source, Snow?
Well, they said Sarah earlier. It's
yeah.
It's not the Foul C.
I
there's
figured.
There's
I
a
am
person
making
there.
a joke.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
I am being the goofy.
There's our ride.
Yuck.
God damn it.
Now you're talking.
But I do like okay, get him home. Who is him? Cause like did Snow not even notice that this woman had a child?
So that's why he said earlier, how do you protect someone if you don't know who they are?
True.
Because he points out that he made a promise to her to save her kid, but he doesn't know who that kid is, and that's actually a plot point that matters throughout the entire story. Because Hope, the white-haired character we saw earlier, Hope, was that child, and he saw her die. And we'll get to it in a second, but he blames Snow for his mother's death, but Snow doesn't know who he is.
I mean, fair enough, but
it's not spoiling anything because he basically, I think Hope was basically bringing that up in the last scene.
Yep. So, yep, we got a summary, and it mentions that the Falchi was, dormant. It was taking a snooze until the government found it. We're like, oh crap, it's got corrupted magic. It's like nuclear power.
Go. Sorry, I thought I cut that out. That was me just checking to make sure the audio is capturing, and there's me checking again. Thought I cut that out.
So, may I suggest a trick for the future? And it is like an obvious trick, but it's a trick all the same. Get a second monitor. Or like hook up your TV as a second monitor or whatever. Because then you can have like your recording stuff on one monitor, so you can like glance over and not have to pause the game.
No, that's fair.
It's just a massive like improvement. And
well, by the way, to answer the question, by the way, it looks like he still has infinite health.
Aw, that I misread his. I also misread his name as Godot. I'm like, oh, so we don't have to wait for him?
Waiting for Godot reference? No, he's just gonna star in one good and then one really terrible Wonder Woman movie.
A shame.
I think that's how the actress's name is spelled. I'm not 100% sure.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. See, this is when I noticed he was immortal. By the way, the game doesn't normally when one of your characters has low health, the game warns you. It doesn't even bother warning you when they're at low health.
Yeah. Oh man, it's that ludonarrative dissonance stuff. Because we already talked about, oh my god, death can happen, but death can't actually happen. What is this garbage?
A lot of people complain, by the way, about how a lot of the maps are hallways. I'm not going to disagree, but I mean, it is a level-based linear JRPG.
Yep. Also, like, okay, so I will levy a single critique related to that, but that's mostly just like, I'm not entirely sure what this architecture is supposed to be. Like, is this supposed to be like a sky road?
I think so. I will admit this section. I will admit it is a little weird. If I remember correctly, we're at the end of this bubble world, basically. So this is like at the very cusp of it, where you get right into the world below.
Because this kind of thing I always kind of look at and go, okay, so what does this look like when it's not like blown up and full of rubble? Like,
I don't think people live here. I think if I remember correctly, this part is not a place where people actually live.
Okay, so this is like weird, falsy like architecture.
Yeah,
and not
I think,
like, oh hey, we were actually supposed to live here.
You know, the problem is that it was actually in the data log, so we'd have to go back and check. But I don't think people live in the Hanging Edge. I think this is specifically just infrastructure.
Fair enough. But hey, we shouldn't check the data logs, because if we check the data logs, then you get too much information, and we're supposed to be able to see if we can understand things without the data logs.
Well, I'm also just going to say is we do see later on that the inside of Cocoon is kind of like a curved inside ring. So my guess is this is like going into like the sections where the janitors are supposed to, the engineers are supposed to keep track of everything, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. But I do like that. So Snow's like, well, I don't know which kid, she said to her dad, so I'm just going to save like literally all of them. This is a reasonable thing to plan to do, and I am not setting myself up for failure at all.
Well, all the kids on the train.
Fair enough.
I think he just meant kids on the train, not every kid in the world.
Can you imagine, though? Well, I don't know who to rescue, so I'm just going to rescue literally everyone. No one is allowed to die ever again, because Snow decrees it.
So I've been cutting these videos up for now into chapter chunks. We're not going to see that. I think I'm going to stop doing that after chapter 3, because chapter 3's video is going to be about 2 hours as a result of that. And I'm pretty sure the game just keeps getting exponentially longer. So we're actually about to see the end, how the game divides itself into levels. It's about to actually end the first level soon.
Okay, and we're about to get Snow like chewed out for letting this kid's mom die.
Well, funny you should say that, because, well, you'll see right now.
That's the one.
They lock eyes. Angry child. Angry child is not going to say anything yet, because it's... Oh, okay, no, Angry child is going to actually say things. Angry child is not going to stew and plot revenge.
No, he is. He's too much
coping behaviors.
He's gonna try. He's not gonna do it now. I'll say that. By the way, what a weird outfit I just noticed on LeBlanc, where it's just like, I think that's her name. I'm gonna wear hot pants with a skirt.
I mean, I guess if you're doing like a lot of backflips or whatever.
Let's keep it that way, all right?
I do like this little scene, by the way. The rest of the two people who weren't in that battle are still like giddy and childish, but he's just like, okay, just keep an eye on all the kids and just keep them safe. Snow is like,
yeah,
realize they can fuck up and kill everyone.
I'm presuming that Nora has never been like in an actual combat situation before.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's heavily implied they were just a biker gang before this happened, but they're all from Bodom.
You go skirt chasing, I take care of the kids. Some husband.
Like in Japanese, Nora is just a play on a name of a word for a cat.
Don't worry, none of you are in
So, yeah,
they're not real. There you go. Go ahead.
I remember seeing like a neighborhood watch, like, oh, they were in like a neighborhood watch organization or something.
Yeah,
But,
like we'll see in Flash. Oh,
Thanks for just leaving. Now this child has nothing to do but plot revenge. Especially since you know, Snow probably does come off as being like a huge callous asshole.
Yeah, that's it. I do like that. If you take this from the perspective of he just screwed up and killed your mother, you'd view him as a humongous dick because he's intentionally hiding his guilt over the action so that other people aren't affected by it.
Yeah. And also the fact that he's just like, he swung by and then just kind of was like, oh, hey, everyone, and then left.
Yeah.
You know how to fly this?
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think so.
All right.
Also, like, oh, Manic Pixie Dream Girl or whatever. No, she's. It's also get the impression that she's doing this because it's like, okay, we don't want to think about the fact that your mom just died because we need to have things happen.
I will say a theme about her character is I'm not going to deal with my problems right now because I can't. And she literally does tell Hope to do that when they first meet. Oh, it could make us Lassie.
Yeah, it's like,
What are you two doing?
oh, hey, we're gonna go towards, like, the nuclear death engine. Remember, thinking about my problems is tantamount to having problems, so we're just not gonna do that.
That does seem to be how she approaches life. And I do like how that's eventually dealt with, too, in the story.
I wear Heelys so I can run away from my feelies, basically.
Held our future.
Oh, I like that. Did you get that from someone?
Oh no, that was like I think it's a relatively old meme that I like saw somewhere.
And this is, by the way, the end of this is the end of level 1 of Fates Intertwined. So the video is over, but we can keep recording for a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what's happening next, honestly. We've got a setup of like, hey, these people are fighting the government for reasons of their own. There's some kind of like corruptive power that the government is trying to hoard and is deporting a bunch of people because they were exposed to. Snow got this kid's mother killed, though honestly that has more to do with Snow not thinking things through than oh hey, I intentionally kicked your mother into the death grind. Though the kid probably thinks that Snow showed up, was like, yeah, let's go, and then got all these people killed like semi-intentionally because he's a dick.
Well, you know, there's an element of, you know, how can he be this irresponsible, I think. And also, literally, from his perspective, he sees Snow, you know, it looks like Snow, and this is going to come up later, so I don't think it's a big issue to say it now, but Hope definitely does view it as Snow dropping Nora, which is his mother's name. By the way, is the same name as their organization. They're both Nora.
Because thinking of extra names is hard.
But yes, I don't think it's a spoiler to mention that Hope thinks that Snow dropped her.
Oh yeah, no, from Hope's perspective, Snow looks like maximum asshole. Like, from Hope's perspective, Snow showed up, rescued the people from the train, handed out guns to, like, everyone, like, recruited them into his madcap crusade, got them all killed, then, like, came back to basically say hi and then left again after, you know, dropping Hope's mom.
Yeah, basically. You know, there's reasons why Snow is doing this. You know, he thinks, I think this is my interpretation, so I don't think this is a spoiler. I think he thinks if he admits what happened in front of the other people, they won't have the ability to keep doing what's necessary. So he bottles everything up and keeps putting on this brave front. And because he thinks that he has to bear this on his own to keep everyone fighting.
So is this literally just everyone is bad at dealing with emotions the game?
Oh yes, 100%. I would describe this as everyone has some trouble. I would say, honestly, this is one of those stories where if half the people just sat down and talked about their problems, then the situation would be much better.
I enjoy those kinds of stories, so I'm looking forward to more of this.
Like, we haven't gotten into it yet, but Lightning's character is very much that she is a lot more, like, emotive and understanding than she lets on, but she does not let people see that side of her. And if she just told people that's how she really is, a lot of problems would be solved.
Yep. Oh, I think my favorite thing about it so far is that it, like, Oh, okay. Actually, no. I'm just gonna hop on your like interpretation of Snow, psychoanalyze the man. I think also part of it is that he just doesn't actually know how to deal with this situation.
I think you're correct.
Cause like
He-
like we were saying, like he was basically, I don't know, like head of a biker gang or like a neighborhood watch organization, something like where he obviously didn't go into this with the idea that people would die. And I think especially since this is like he shows back up like 15 minutes later, he hasn't had time to process like, oh, I just sent a bunch of people to their deaths.
Yes, we'll see in flashbacks that essentially, and I don't think this is a spoiler, it's shown at the end of chapter 2, but I think it's okay for me to say this. They all just were friends at a bar before this happened, and none of them were doing anything. Like, if they did illegal things, I think it boils down to just what a biker gang does, where occasionally they probably drove too fast or drove where they weren't supposed to. Like, we see that they were, we actually see that at the end of chapter 2. Like, I don't think he's ever killed a man before, but he probably was able to restrain that because Psycom was committing murder. But, like, he led people to their death. Like, I don't think any of these people really, and they didn't have any choice. Like, they are from Bodom, so they are part of the Purge. So they're also being purged. And so they're being thrown into this situation, and they're trying to get through it by being heroes, but that's just, as people will start saying to Snow, is like, that's not how reality works. There are no heroes. Like, we definitely got a lot of Snow's character in this, but I think we got a lot of everyone's character, but I feel like if I psychoanalyze the other characters, it would require me spoiling things.
Yeah.
Like, Saz actually keeps a very important reason why he was on the train a secret from everyone until I think, like, I'm in chapter 3 and he hasn't brought it up yet. I know from playing it once before, but he has a reason for why he was there that he keeps very close to his heart. Because as you might notice, he is the oldest character there. He is in his late 30s, early 40s, where everyone else, I think the oldest, I think Lightning's 22nd birthday is literally happened 2 days before this event, because it is referenced in the plot at one point. So they are all very young people. And Saz is the only one who's almost in his 40s. So they all have their reasons for... So to go into the details of all their characters, I think would require some spoilers. But all of them have... So Final Fantasy XIII is not told in order, and there will be... We haven't seen it yet in Chapter 1, but there will be many flashbacks to what occurred over what was called, and you see it on the data log, the 13 days that preceded this event. And as we go through, we see more of these 13 days and how it led to the event that led to the Purge.
Fair enough. I do think we should probably wrap it up because people have stopped seeing like video. A
while ago, yes.
10 minutes ago. Thank you for sticking around for our rambling.
Yeah. No, I hope they enjoyed this segment. We got, since the video wasn't playing, we had some time, and I think doing this maybe after if we are up to it, might be a good chance, because I guess you could call this video an apologist run of the game. I don't think I've ever seen a Let's Play of this game that didn't shit on it. And I think these little moments where we take a moment to appreciate what was good. I'm not saying the game is perfect. I could also do an entire segment of things I hate about this game. But I think it's useful for what I think is kind of the goal of this Let's Play, outside of just being entertaining, which is also highlighting what I thought were good moments in this game.
Yep. So...
Well,
all right.
I'm Kovac.
I'm Mapi.
And we hope you're here for the next video.
Goodbye.